smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it.
Welcome back, y'all. This is the Miscellaneous Minds podcast. I'm your host, Jesus Dinero, here with my co-host,
Puma El Gato.
What we got going on tonight, my man?
David Benavidez, unanimous decision this past Saturday night. Where does he go from here? Let's talk about that.
Listen, David Benavidez took a unanimous decision win over Morell, and there was a little bit of controversy in the fight with the fall that happened in the 11th round for Benavidez. But listen, other than that, it was a unanimous decision win. And now we're looking at essentially two opponents that he's got coming up. Turki Al-Sheikh has said that he will make the winner of David Benavidez and David Morell to go up against the winner of Bivol and Beterbiev 2. So one of the things we want to talk about is how he would fare against each one of these two dudes. Now listen, the fight that he had with Morell, I feel like Morell's first of all a great opponent. I feel like really fine-tuned him for a potential fight. I feel like it would fine-tune him a little bit more for a Beterbiev than it would have Bivol. But regardless, it was a good fight for not just the fans, but good experience for David Benavidez as well. So let's go ahead and break it down and take each one of these two. So because I feel like David Morell would be a good version or a good path towards a Beterbiev, and the reason I say that is because David Morell is an attacker. He makes a lot of mistakes when he attacks. Beterbiev doesn't make that many, not compared to David Morell, but because of that attack, that constant pressure, that's why I think it's more of a learning lesson for a Beterbiev. Now, Beterbiev is a lot tougher than David Morell. Got a better chin, throws harder punches, and because of those factors, I worry a little bit for David Benavidez. Here's the thing: when David Benavidez fought against Morell, there was some noticeable moments where David Morell shook him a little bit. He landed some clean punches, and you could tell that it threw David Benavidez off balance. You could tell that it threw David Benavidez for a little bit of a loop, and you could see that, he was stunned for a little bit. He didn't, I don't think there was any moment where he was like in danger of going down, but it definitely shook him enough to get David Benavidez's attention. That being said, Beterbiev punches much harder than does a David Morell. Not just that, but Beterbiev, is a better tactician than is a David Morell. Also, Beterbiev doesn't let off the gas, man. He's a come-forward fighter, and even though people don't give him this, he has a good amount of ring IQ just because he stalks you, but he stalks you intelligently. And I think because of that, I think he would not fare phenomenally against a Beterbiev. If I'm being honest with you, as of right now, if I had to pick somebody, I actually pick Beterbiev to beat David Benavidez. I think because of the work that Beterbiev does, I think maybe Benavidez would be landing much more punches, but I feel like the more effective punches would absolutely be Beterbiev. Beterbiev just puts in a good amount of work, and again, the fact that it's damaging, stopping punches, I feel like that would be very questionable against Benavidez. Benavidez has been dropped now twice in his career. One of them by, if I'm being honest with you, not even really that big of a contender. Not even that big of a fighter. And that is one of the things where when you put him up against an elite like Beterbiev, it's hard pressed for me to believe that he would stand a decent chance. And listen, I like Benavidez. I would actually be rooting for him in that fight. It's just, I'm not going to lie, at this juncture, I just don't see it. Beterbiev is too strong. Beterbiev is too tactical. Beterbiev is too good with the pressure moving forward. And because of those things, I would actually favor Beterbiev to beat David Benavidez. Now, let's take a look at the opposite there. Let's take a look at the Bivol. How would Benavidez do against Bivol? Here's the thing. Benavidez has now faced a couple of fighters who are more technical than not. Caleb Plant being one of them, and Bivol Andrade. Now, both of those scenarios, Benavidez won. He actually made Bivol retire on the stool, and we all saw he took it to a victory against Caleb Plant. With that being said, listen, no disrespect to Caleb Plant, no disrespect to Bivol. They're no Bivol. Bivol is much better at landing punches. He's much cleaner. He's just as busy as a Benavidez, only much more better in the accuracy, much more better at landing his punches. That being said, Benavidez has now had 2 matches at 175. This is Bivol's natural weight. This is where he's been fighting for the good portion of his career. And because of that, I do feel like Bivol would absolutely have the advantage here. Not just is Bivol a slick fighter, he's great. He's, given the fact Benavidez is technically the one coming up, it'd be playing in Bivol's playground. And listen, we've all seen the precision that even Bivol had against a Beterbiev. We've all seen the tenacity. Even when Beterbiev caught Bivol with good, clean punches and they shook him, Bivol managed to stay in there and fight it off and, do a little thing. So with that being said, I do still favor Bivol even against the Benavidez. If I'm being honest with you, the one thing that I feel could be the saving grace for Benavidez is his work output. If he lays down good combinations, that could help him. But here's the thing. Bivol's a great counterpuncher. Bivol's a phenomenal counterpuncher. And I feel like that's the major key that I think would be a downfall for Benavidez. Now, according to Benavidez, him and Bivol have actually sparred in the past. And that's great. But they both tell a different story of what happened. And if I'm being honest, we all know sparring is way different than actually getting in the ring and, getting in there to do some damage. So with that being said, in a Benavidez versus Bivol, I still favor Bivol, man. If I'm being honest with you, putting Benavidez up against these two killers, I honestly don't feel like he stands much of a chance. And listen, don't get me wrong. Again, even a Benavidez versus Bivol, I would be rooting for Benavidez. I would want the man to win. It's just it's hard pressed for me at this particular juncture to believe that Benavidez would be able to beat either one of these guys. And listen, he just came off this win, and I'll be honest with you, to a degree, he looked pretty good doing it. But there were still things that came up in that match against David Morell that really made me question the reality of if Benavidez could really take on a Bivol. Bivol is just too crisp, too on the money, too on time. Great ring IQ, and all those things combined, the counter punching, all that, I feel like would be a bit too much for Benavidez. On the opposite end, Beterbiev just too strong, man. Too strong, great ring IQ, very crisp himself. I feel like that would also be his downfall. So I think no matter which path he takes, no matter who wins this next fight between Beterbiev and Bivol, Benavidez has the work cut out for him, man. It's going to be a tough uphill battle. But listen, like I said, I'd be rooting for the man. So hopefully we'd see an upset. Hopefully we'd see something big. And it'd be a great fight to watch regardless of who he faces. What do you think about that, my man?
Listen, man, at the end of the day, we all love a good underdog story. And it's amazing that in this matchup, somebody known as the Mexican Monster himself, again, you know who he is. He's David Benavidez. But the fact of the matter is, him going into the light heavyweight division, he is going to be the underdog, whether you want to believe so or not. And there's a good couple reasons for that. For one, you already know he's going to have the packing the pounds for that. And one of the biggest toolboxes that David Benavidez has, and I feel like it's a bit underlooked because you said he has good counter punches. And you know what? That's true. A good portion of that counter punching that he has is that he has this ability to dodge and not give a counter punch. He gives counter combinations. This man is absolutely slick with that. But the fact that he has to put on the pounds, that's going to slow him down at least a little bit more, have a little bit more muscle resistance. His brain's going to be there to want to give a little bit more reception to, okay, it's time to deliver the counter punches now. The problem is, his body's going to have to do a little bit of catching up to what his brain is telling him to want to do. Now, for somebody like a Beterbiev, for an example, the man that goes aggressive, all gas, no brakes. For something like that, Dave Benavidez is a little bit more on the defensive side. Again, he is Sugar Ray Leonard on the back foot. He absolutely has the shoe shining technique behind him. Again, once he dodges a punch, again, punch. Eat like 3 hits, 4 hit combinations, hell, even a 5 if he's feeling spicy with it. But the fact that he's going to have a little bit of resistance because of the packing on the pounds, I think is going to slow down his punches a little bit. And one of his greatest assets is going to be a little bit crutched if he's going to be moving on into the heavier rounds. You remember you wanted to say something?
Are you talking on packing on the pounds so that he packs more punch? Or what do you mean?
I meant like just meeting up to that weight. Unless he's
he's already at the 175, man. So that's why I was asking if you meant like in a power punching way, or like what did you mean by that?
I guess I meant more so in meeting up there. But if that's already his walking around there, okay, then negate what I said. Regardless, I do think at the very least, in terms of Beterbiev, I do think his slipping and fast counter combinations, I do think is going to be his greatest asset. But I do think for Beterbiev, I think he'd be a little bit more attentive for something along the lines of that. For Bivol, I do think one of the greatest assets that Bivol has, I think more so than Beterbiev, is that I feel like Bivol actually has more of an iron chin than Beterbiev does. So I do think When it comes to Dave Benavidez, again, one of his other greatest assets is his absolute punching power. And I do think for that, it's going to negate it for Bivol a little bit more. Now, if I were to put my money on who Benavidez would fare better against, I do think at the end of the day, if it's going to go by points, I do think he'd fare a much better chance against somebody like a Bivol more so than a Beterbiev. I feel like Beterbiev is going to have way too much pressure for David Benavidez to really slip in as many defensive counter rolls and counter punching combinations more so than Bivol. I think like Bivol would actually be able to, although he would eat those punches more, I do think it's going to dock him a little bit on the scorecards because he's taken what's perceived to be much more damage, at least in terms of the scorecard. So I do think between the two, I think Benavidez would fare better against the Bivol, but for Beterbiev, it's definitely going to be much more of a challenge for David Benavidez.
It's an interesting take, my man. You know, I think that again, no matter who he faces, I think it's going to be an uphill battle just because, again, you know, he's basically going from, you know, getting into the division and having 2 fights, and then he's going to immediately fighting the elite. One of them is the current undisputed champion. The other one was potentially going to be the undisputed champion. So he's going in, you know, from fighting 1 or 2 dudes to get like his feet wet in the division that he's now been at for 2 different fights, to fighting the elite of the elite, to fighting the undisputed champion, whoever that may be. So yeah, man, it's definitely going to be an interesting fight. I think it'll be fireworks no matter who it is. And listen, at this juncture, whether he can climb that hill or not, he's earned his spot to fight them. It'll be interesting to see. I do think if he does come out victorious, I think that would be the lead into the mega fight between him and Canelo, which I know is the one that everybody's been wanting. And the reason I say that is the whole reason Canelo moved up originally was to claim the 175 undisputed title, which is what he wanted. And if Benavidez wins, there you go. We have a mega fight. We have a mega fight for Canelo to be 2 division undisputed champion, much like a Terrence Crawford. And then we have it all, or at least Canelo would have it all if he were to get that dub. Yeah, man, it'll be interesting to see. I do think, again, Benavidez has his work cut out for him, but no matter what, it would be a great fight against either one of those opponents. The only thing that could upset that to be coming soon is if Bivol wins, because then we'd have to have a Beterbiev versus Bivol 3. So, yeah, man, we'll see. We'll keep tuning on that. We'll definitely keep you guys updated. And with that, make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit, and
Until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you in the next one.